All right, let's talk about a team that just lost today. It kind of broke a lot of hearts, except Michael Thomas, who was. Did you see him tweeting the entire time? Like
Oh
after
man, I wasn't reading them live, but I saw it later on that evening. Man, he was upset.
yeah, no,
He
he
wanted
was
to be playing.
enjoying that
Yeah.
Vikings loss. He
Yes,
was
he
having the time
was.
of his life.
Yeah.
But I mean, this seems real interesting. I feel like there's a bunch of big name guys on this team. There always is. There's always a big discussion. Thielen versus Diggs. I mean, it's been going on for what, like 3 years now. It's the
Yeah.
same conversation every time. But let's kind of just jump right into it. I think this is actually Kirk Cousins' last year under contract, right? Because I think he had 3 fully guaranteed years, and this is going in third year. So we could see this team kind of a make or break for Kirk Cousins, honestly. Just because he's been good, but he hasn't been great.
Yeah. He's the kind of guy in fantasy that doesn't quite live up to what you want. I don't think he's a bad Minnesota Vikings quarterback, but his game sort of well, they've turned into a running team, so that sort of hurts him as far as sort of like a Tannehill. He's never going to be just like massive Mahomes numbers where you're like, oh my gosh, I got 4 touchdowns,
Yeah.
out of him today. So just sort of like in that mediocre range. So I didn't put him on buy, but I could see you buying, in a super flex league. He's going to be on that low end of QB1, QB2 range. I mean, so people aren't going to hold so strong that you can't get him. And so he's probably a decent buy. But, dude, I screamed this all last offseason.
Yeah.
I don't know how Dalvin Cook still isn't a buy. Maybe that's just my love. His price it's way higher than it was last offseason. So maybe I should have said sell, but I can't do it. I love his game. Yes, he had some shoulder injury at the end of the year, but man, he fared really well, all the way down there to the end. Dude is legit. He catches a lot of balls. What do you have, like 53 to 55 receptions this year? Which obviously doesn't blow you away, but is very good for fantasy, like right in there where you want a running back. He's very productive with his touches. So I'm going to buy him. I still love the dude. I mean, so yeah, I don't know how you avoid buying him.
Okay, well, I gotta come with you, Hunter, real quick. I know
Bring it.
I was saying sell last offseason, and clearly I was wrong.
Yeah,
Hopefully people who listen to the channel listen to you when it came to Dalvin Cook, because you kind of that was your big thing you screamed out. Like, I'll give
yeah,
it to you. That was your number one thing to
yeah,
buy Dalvin Cook, and he came through and smashed. But I think I have to sell because you can get I think I saw him go like the 7th overall pick in a Dynasty Superflex startup. And if
yeah,
I can trade him for like a Kyler Murray and like a 2021st in Superflex, I would love to do that, just because like what we've been talking about, like in all these videos, the running backs, like their shelf life is very short. And he's actually, at least according to Scott, and I really trust. I think Scott's probably the one of the best fantasy analysts there is. I think he's better than Evan Silva.
love
Like,
Scott.
I,
Yeah,
I love listening to Scott. He thinks that Dalvin Cook can hold out this offseason, which, if that happens, I mean, it's lowering his dynasty price no matter what,
yeah.
even if the team ends up signing him. So I'm probably staying away just because I don't know. I'm just a little salty that I missed out whenever his price was lower.
Yeah.
So I could be biased, but I think he's actually going to be my sell.
Well, which I don't disagree with, and you keep referencing sort of like their dynasty startup price. If he's going again, I'm not in a dynasty right now. If he's going at the 107, that's too high. I'm not taking him 107, and I'm not
Mhm.
I'm not suggesting buying. I might take him at the swing if I was in and wanted to go running back. Maybe I
Yeah.
take him 112, 1 or 2.01.
See, I think
But
that's a fair price, but
yeah,
I don't think you can get him.
right. But if you can't get him there, then yeah, I'm not screaming buy at that price. I'm more just saying I still think the kid has wheels. He doesn't have just an absurd amount of touches on him. Obviously, he had the ACL injury, so he didn't get hurt at all that year with touches. So I still think he's got some in him. So um, as long as that price isn't just absurd, I would love to buy him. Um, my sell, which isn't as good if you're selling Dalvin as far as just your return, but It's been the same forever. I mean, my sell is Thielen on this team. Now, the way he ended with the injuries, that's really bummer for his price. So he may end up being a better hold than he is a sell. But at that age and the fact that they're a run heavy team, I want to sell Thielen. I just think we've seen the best of him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just now looked it up because I knew he was older than Diggs, but I
Yeah.
didn't know by how much. He's going to be 30 whenever next season
Yeah.
comes around.
Yeah.
So I mean, his price is going to go down no matter what. So if you can get out ahead of it right now, I think
Yeah.
that's probably smart.
And in fact, I'm not even trying to get too what's the word I'm looking for? Too uh overvalue him, whatever I'm trying to say here. Like I would get out of him on some upside, what I think is an upside. So like if I could get, in that Preston Williams, McLaurin, that if I can get those guys and maybe something, I'm jumping
I think
ship for
that's
that.
that you can definitely get that. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so I'm doing that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to overvalue him and say, "Hey, look at what he's been," and I can't believe you're offering me that. No, I'm getting off for what
Yeah.
I think is the best price I can get.
So you're selling him hard.
Easy. He was my sell, I think, in back when we were recording back in March and before that. Maybe I'm just too much of an ageist, but these guys get to that 28, 29, 30, and in Dynasty, their value, if you're not Julio, your value just. And
Yeah.
so, in that offense, they just don't offer enough. I don't think he'll ever be a wide receiver one again.
So what are you doing with Diggs then? Because I have him under hold.
Yeah, Diggs is easily my hold. He's also could be very easily my buy. He's
Yeah.
still not a sell for me because he's not going to garner you the. I'm not panicking to sell him for what I just mentioned, like the McLaurin type. Like I'm not going to do that with him, but um, it just depends on who you're buying him from. So I could buy him, but I'm also a hold. I'm a lover of his game, and so even though they're not in a pass heavy offense, he's a fantastic receiver, so I'm going to hold him all day long. I'm not looking to move him off my dynasty roster. If I'm in a startup, he's easily. If I went running back heavy, I'm fine with him. Even though this is risky, I'm fine with him as my wide receiver one in that
Yeah.
like fourth round. If he's falling into that fourth, maybe even fifth after this year, because he was already falling, I believe, into that sort of fourth round range last year. So if he's fallen to the fifth, if that's my wide receiver one, I'm happy all day long.
Yeah, I think you can possibly get him in the fifth. Someone
Yeah.
on in our Patreon group chat earlier today sent that I think they took him at 401 in a Superflex mock draft.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I think it's possible that you get him late fourth, early fifth, and there I'm probably buying. But anything
Yeah.
before, like I'm probably selling.
And you can almost chalk any scenario up. Like if you're in a startup, any scenario you go, if you go QB, running back, he's just a perfect wide receiver one in that fourth, fifth round range. I could
Yeah,
go three running backs and then be happy to get him. Now if I end up going like heavy wide receiver early, I may be is at some point you got to start looking at your running backs, and so you might be pounding out a running back there at the end of the fourth, fifth round, and you pass on Diggs. But if I'm not going receiver heavy, he's a hold to buy all day long. He's still got youth in those legs. He's not. He's still only 25 years old. So
yeah. I think he's 26, but still,
26.
still,
Yeah,
still, yeah. He's just now getting into the wide receiver prime.
I'm not ready to bail on him for easily 2 to 3 years.
All right, well, let me say my buy real quick before we end. I think I got to go after Irv Smith. I mean, he showed. I know you've been saying like who cares like with tight
Yeah,
ends, but at the same time, I think you can go out and get him with like a third round rookie pick, like especially when drafts like. But I would do that. I would probably do it now because I think Kyle Rudolph may get cut after this. I
yeah,
mean, after this season, because I
he
know
was bad.
everyone like it definitely winning them that playoff game, like being a part of that helps him. But his contract is so like it's so friendly to cut. And that's what everyone was saying everyone was saying he was going to get cut last offseason. And then remember, they restructured and gave him a fake extension so they could cut him this offseason, which I think they still might do because Irv
Yeah.
Smith is a 21-year-old rookie tight end, which rookie tight ends don't do anything, especially when you're 21
Yeah.
years old. He showed flashes. So I think if Kyle Rudolph does get cut, Irv Smith gets an automatic bump in value that you maybe can just flip him, like buy him for a third and sell him for a second.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I just on the field, even if Rudolph's gone, I don't. It's so hard to know, but I don't see him as like turning into a tight end. Uh, I mean, he could be a tight end one. That's how bad tight ends are. But I mean, I don't
Yeah.
see him jumping into that top five. So he's still, excuse me, he's still probably just a guy. But if you can get him cheap, he's probably going to be their tight end one. And,
Yeah.
just maybe a guy to just sort of hope that he hits enough. Again, I go back to Hooper. Maybe he hits a little bit like Hooper. He's not in a pass heavy offense, so he won't hit like Hooper. I shouldn't say that. But uh,
But I think he's going to be a guy that gets hyped throughout the offseason that you can flip if you buy now.
yeah, yeah, I don't mind it. Go for it.